It's no secret that Cardano has always been out to solve big problems, starting with the building of a new financial system to create a more level economic playing field for all the world's people. But last Friday at ScotFest, IOG revealed that it's been secretly working for years on another cryptocurrency to solve another big problem: privacy. Over the last few decades, our digital lifestyles have made privacy a luxury good that was too expensive for almost all of us, since the cost would have been not using all the tech platforms that had made us the product. It sounds like IOG may be out to change all that. Ready? Let's go. Today, we are going to discuss the new midnight confidentiality based sidechain from IOG, the new stablecoin news from Emurgo, the Cardano Summit NFTs, and the G20 release on crypto out of the White House. If you are as excited as me to finally find out about midnight last Friday, or if you're finding value in these videos each weekday, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Some of you will remember the video on November 2nd when we talked about a little bit of chatter that was popping up online about something called midnight. I did a little searching around and I found this page that mentioned a midnight dApp. We went to the GitHub that was linked here and found that it looked like there were some private code repos for this midnight dApp, but obviously we couldn't see what was inside them. Last Friday, in Charles's keynote address in ScotFest, we found out exactly what midnight is. And it turns out it is the big November surprises, or we could say one of the big November surprises that were happening inside the Cardano ecosystem. But this was the big surprise from IOG. So shortly after Charles's keynote, we also got this video, which explains a little bit more about midnight. This presentation came from Rob Adams, who's an executive VP of strategy at IOG. And it sounds like he's been on this project for quite some time at Input Output. Here's what we know. Midnight is out to ensure three freedoms, and they tell us a little bit about what Midnight's going to do. These three freedoms are association, commerce, and expression. Under freedom of association, they say collaborate through open rules agreed upon by your community or consortium, and they give an example of DAOs. Freedom of commerce, they say, is to exchange value in a confidential and regulatory friendly way without centralized gatekeepers. Decentralized marketplaces are the use case there. And freedom of expression is about candidly sharing your ideas with a global ecosystem without fear of censorship. And decentralized media is the example they give there. That to me is one of the more interesting out of these three, because we've definitely seen DAOs, we've definitely seen decentralized marketplaces, but I don't think we've truly seen a lot of decentralized media. But to understand how Midnight is going to aid these three freedoms, we first have to understand what Midnight actually is. Midnight is a confidentiality based blockchain that allows developers to build dApps that give users the ability to protect their own data. It's a sidechain of Cardano that uses zero knowledge cryptography. So you could share assertions about your data. So you could share assertions about your private data without having to actually share that private data. This will also be great for regulated institutions, since they can create a dApp that tells you in its terms of service that they'll have to share certain of your data with regulators, and you can then choose to agree to that or not. You can also write smart contracts for Midnight in TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript and a very popular programming language. For users, this is all going to mean control over your own data and the visibility of your transactions. Fees will be low and predictable, and Midnight maintains the privacy of your data by never taking your data off your personal system. Only assertions about your private data actually go on the chain, not your actual data. The change from Haskell to TypeScript is a pretty interesting one. Of course, one of the very notable things about Cardano has been that Plutus smart contracts basically require Plutus developers, which means they require Haskell developers. And there are only so many developers in the world who can code in Haskell, whereas TypeScript is a very popular language. This is going to change the dynamics quite a bit, I think, as far as how many and what kinds of developers are attracted to the Cardano ecosystem. But of course, the really big news here is the utility this could provide to end users. I mean, right now, if you have to KYC for an exchange, you have to upload all your personal data to that exchange so they can verify they know exactly who you are. And we run into this situation a lot with crypto projects that don't want to deal with U.S. citizens, for example, sometimes EU citizens as well, for regulatory reasons. How much better would it be to be able to prove you're not, if you're not a U.S. person, to be able to prove you're not a U.S. person just by using the Midnight sidechain to upload that assertion about your private data? You could uh, upload to the chain the assertion that you are not a US person without actually having to give that DApp your exact address, linking your name and your address to the fact that you're a crypto person. This is often not seen as a very prudent move, especially having that uploaded to some database run by, a centralized exchange who could get hacked or accidentally leak the information some other way. Your data is basically very vulnerable in these centralized databases. But with Midnight, instead of having to upload your personal, address, name, all that information to the chain itself, you could just upload this assertion and prove to whoever necessary that you're in fact not a US person without having to give up your actual physical location. Of course, there will be other times when you're using something like a fiat on-ramp and you might be a US or EU person, and maybe that fiat on-ramp is going to say, hey, this is one of those cases where in the terms of service, we're going to let you know we actually have to have that data. You can't just send us the assertion because we need to be able to report to the regulatory authorities your actual data, like in that case, possibly your address, name, those kinds of things. So it's not that Midnight will obviate all of these regulatory concerns, but the idea of a zero knowledge sidechain in Cardano is going to present all kinds of use cases given this new autonomy and control over your own data. Another great use case that might touch more people on a more daily basis would be some social media platform, maybe like a Twitter, coming along and saying, hey, the way we're going to control bots is by having users prove that they're actual individual human beings, one human being for each account instead of one human being in a million bot accounts. And the way we're going to do that is through these same types of zero knowledge assertions. So instead of forcing everybody to upload their KYC data to our centralized database, which could be hacked, etc., instead, we're just going to use Midnight to have you send the assertion that proves to us through zero knowledge cryptography that you're an actual human being and not a bot. Obviously, I'm just making up use cases here, given what might be possible with zero knowledge cryptography. But I'm sure there's a lot of Cardano dApp developers or future Cardano dApp developers right now out there at the drawing board coming up with much more clever use cases. The other big news from Friday was this from CoinDesk. Cardano-based regulated stablecoin USDA will hit the market in early 2023. USDA would be the first fully fiat-backed regulatory compliant stablecoin in the Cardano ecosystem, Emurgo said. So a stablecoin from Emurgo. Who saw this coming? Actually, I did. If you listen to the last 30 seconds of the video on this channel that debuted at midnight on Friday, a couple hours before this article came out, if you listen to that last 30 seconds, there's one sentence in there. And if you take the first letter of every word in the sentence, it spells out Emurgo Stable. Obviously, stablecoins are important. They're an important building block for DeFi. So the addition of USDA from Emurgo and all the other stablecoins we have on the way will be a pretty big step forward for decentralized financing Cardano. The Cardano Summit is now live, and its virtual world is this very picturesque alpine type setting. You can see here it's all very lovely. What I'm going to do in this segment is show you how to get the Cardano Summit 2022 NFT, there are going to be spoilers here. So if you don't want these spoilers, just click this segment. Having said that, first thing you're going to want to do is go inside this building right here, and you're going to head down those escalators. That's going to bring you to this load screen, which is not too bad. And then once you get downstairs, you're going to notice this little garden area right there. And you already know what that is floating right there. It's a coin. But you can't really get in here from the inside. At least I haven't noticed a way to do that. Instead, what you can do is you can go through one of the two sets of doors out here to the balcony. And then you go all the way out here on the balcony toward the outside of the building. There's going to be this door right here. You can go inside the garden area, and as soon as you walk into this space, it's going to transport you to the secret area where you can collect all of these coins. There's 11 coins in here. If you collect all of them, then you can get the NFT. The way you collect them, walk up to them, and just click, and it gives you the coin. I've already collected all 11, so I won't go through them and do that here. But you should know there is this wooden like almost obstacle course up here. There are several coins up there. There's also a cave system. There's this cave system in here, and it contains a bunch of coins. The coin that was the hardest for me to find was a coin that was over here. In fact, we can kind of run up there real quick. There's a hidden coin kind of in the back. It took me a second to find that one. It's kind of back behind a sign. There's how you get up onto the wooden platforms there, and it kind of becomes like a little platformer game. Once you get up there, there's no jumping, but you have to walk on boards to get to some of those platforms. But the hidden coin I want to show you that's quite difficult to find is this one right back. If I remember right, it's right back in here. Yep, right there. That one is the one that took me the longest to actually find. Once you have all 11 coins, you'll be taken to the minting page where you'll just pay 2 ADA to get that NFT, which was made by Turf, who I covered in a recent video. Finally, you're probably aware that the G20 was meeting in Bali, and we got the leaders' declaration dropped right here from the White House. And of course, if you go all the way down to item 35, clear down here, item 35, we have some talk of crypto. They say, we welcome ongoing work by the Financial Stability Board and international standard setters to ensure that the crypto assets ecosystem, including so-called stablecoins, man, they're always on the stablecoin thing. That is like their biggest hot button issue, stablecoins. Including so-called stablecoins is closely monitored and subject to robust regulation, supervision, and oversight to mitigate potential risks to financial stability. We welcome the FSB's proposed approach for establishing a comprehensive international framework for the regulation of crypto asset activities based on the principle of same activity, same risk, same regulation. So there you have it. The G20 is calling for robust regulation, supervision, and oversight. And they want to do this on a coordinated international basis. So this gives you an idea of where this is probably going. I hope you had a great weekend, and I will talk to you tomorrow.